It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes. Look at that. You didn't turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you got to get it trending.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Let's go.
Can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
It was good. It was very good.
All right, 6:30, we will call the meeting to order. Let's see, we're gonna do, roll call, please. When she's ready.
We're watching the sunshine over here.
Marr,
Here.
Bano,
Here.
Molzon,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Schnelly,
Here.
Hulda,
Here.
and then we have Van Kampen, Smith back, and Modjeski out tonight.
Okay, thank you. Next item is approval of minutes of August 1st, 2024. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move that.
Do we have a second?
Second, I do have one adjustment, if I could,
Yep,
please.
absolutely.
I was quoted as angulating the masonry, it's articulating.
I'm never really sure what you're saying, John, so.
Perfect, Nugan.
All right, with that correction, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Public appearances. At this time, there's a period in which anybody from the audience can bring up anything on the agenda, off the agenda, for a discussion, 3-minute limit, or you can wait till later on if the unit thing comes up. So anybody want to talk to something that's not on the agenda? We're going to move on. Thank you. Communication, miscellaneous business, there's none. Okay, unfinished business, none. Item 7A, new business item. This is public hearing, discuss and consider recommendation to village board for revised conditional use permit to allow the outdoor commercial entertainment in the planned business zoning district at 787 North Main Street, Suite 105. The applicant is Bad Art Company. This time we'll open up the meeting, or open up the hearing, excuse me. Staff report.
All right, I'll kick it off, and then Emma, if you want to maybe come up here and fill in the gaps. So we had Bad Art Company before us for their indoor commercial entertainment CUP back, I think, in December. And you opened April, May, sometime? Okay. Later in the summer. Okay. So they've been up and running. Emma also received her liquor license from the village board in July or early August. So that is now active as well to have liquor, beer, and wine. Emma's looking to expand some of the seating options and just kind of offerings that Bad Art Company has, and take advantage of the large sidewalk that's outside the business. So we have a little diagram here. I imagine she's been working with Joy too, as far as serving alcohol outside and making sure that that's matching any premise description for her liquor license. But specifically looking to mostly just have seating for some food and beverage, or if people want to do their art activities outside. Potentially looking in the future to have maybe some small outdoor music happening out there too. Maybe she can speak a little bit more to plans for that, but there's not a lot of residential nearby, so not too concerned about noise, things like that. And then there is quite a bit of space still, even with the four top tables, to have about 6 feet of clear space. We aim for at least 4 feet downtown for like our outdoor cafe tables, things like that. So should be plenty of room if somebody's walking by in a wheelchair, stroller, to get around. But that's pretty much the update, just to add the outdoor uses there. Largely just gonna be the seating, but I'll let the applicant add anything or answer your questions.
Anybody have any questions at this point? You want to give us any more ideas of what's going on? Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I think
Yeah,
you
we
covered the basics there. It's primarily just to have a couple tables and chairs out front. Like you said, people can have a beverage or do some art out there. We did add in possibility for entertainment. I don't have plans for that. It would be kind of maybe a one-off, someone playing a guitar or something, but I didn't want to have to come back to you guys again and be like, let's add this or whatever. And then the food aspect is we'd love to do food truck pop-ups where we have a local food truck business come park out front. So that's really what that's about. We don't have plans to operate like a restaurant or kitchen out of the space, not ever. So I've done that before for other people. Nope. Yeah, so I hope that clarifies anything. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I have one. I'm familiar with food trucks. My daughter and son-in-law have those in front of their business. How would you put that out in front of the building in that parking lot? Because that is where the thoroughfare of the street is, so to speak, the driveway.
Yeah, so it would be not right in front of the building. It would be set back. There's always tons of parking available there. I need to have this before I take it to the property owner, but since it's a private business and they want to encourage people to be there, that would be the next step.
Do you know of anything with the village as far as ordinances, anything that,
For-
of course,
for
that's a
food
private
trucks?
parking lot, so that's
Yeah,
not really.
so, and yeah, anytime somebody wants to do food truck on a public street or at a
That's
public
different.
park or something, yeah, that's different. That's transient merchant license and that's checked and everything. But yeah, if someone wants to host that on their private property, it's kind of just up to the property manager and to, verify that they've got their license and everything like that for food safety. But yeah, that would kind of be up to the property manager if they wanted to host that in their parking lot. But yeah, definitely making sure that the right of way, the thoroughfare there is clear, I'm sure would be.
As I was asking the question, I realized I forgot, yes, it's a parking lot, so it's private.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're having a steak dinner tonight at they'll serve
Yes,
at
they
Yeah.
are. My husband loves that. He probably got two.
Hy-Vee. Okay, anybody else have any questions of the applicant?
I'm in support of this, but I have a question, and it's more for, I think, protection of everybody involved, and it's to what you had brought up earlier, and that's the entertainment aspect of this. I don't want you to have to come back So I would like to get a little bit more definition on what your intentions are down the road so that something awful were to happen, we know sort of, where we are right now with expectations.
Yeah.
So are we talking about amplified music? Are we talking about hours of operation? Are we talking about, sort of limits that we typically put on people? I'm not trying to put a
Oh, no.
kibosh to this. I'm just trying to get a little bit more in a box. kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I appreciate clarity, very much. So, right now, it's more of an abstract idea, and what I would envision is maybe just someone out there, one, maybe two. We put in, I believe, for amplified music. I don't feel that that would be necessary at any point. I just want to keep my options open. So, having someone playing their songs with their guitar just out there is the abstract vision for this. But again, it's more of like a possibility.
Yeah.
I haven't.
And that's
yeah.
fine because we can get that typed into the minutes
Yeah.
so that if something were to come back, at least we have an understanding of what everybody is going into this understanding.
Yes. No, I appreciate that. Maybe if they needed to hook a guitar up to an amplifier, I don't know that would be necessary, but
Well, if we're gonna entertain it, we need to know that.
exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, parking
So,
lot, maybe
in other words,
background noise.
Right.
if you make that, if you're thinking that's a possibility, we need to address it now if you want it as part
Definitely.
of the CUP. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your hours currently? I would imagine that you would
Yeah.
have any music within your normal
Within
hours
normal
of operation.
hours,
Which
definitely.
are,
Right now, we close at 10 p.m. on the weekends. We'll maybe change that to 11 at some point, but that would be the latest. And the businesses adjacent to us are not open. There's a dentist that closes at like 4, and then the auto parts place, I think they close at 6 or 7 most nights. So when we would have live music would be those later evening hours, starting around probably 7 p.m. And so no, the neighbors would not be open.
what have we done? I think we don't really let anything beyond about 10, do we?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually for outdoor.
Outdoors,
so,
10
yeah,
o'clock,
but usually
so-
that's closer to neighborhoods too. So like Bodie
I'm
Howe.
not worried about anybody coming
Ziggy's.
after you with pitchforks and.
No.
No.
Yeah, and then obviously she'd still be subject to the noise ordinance too. So if there
Well,
was
it's
a
going to be
complaint,
consistent
that's
with
still-
whatever we've said before, for any other
Yeah.
areas of the
Yep.
village.
those same standards.
Yeah.
But they're
Okay.
pretty generous. Usually the background noise of trucks driving by the road is louder than music that's coming from someone's guitar. So
Definitely. Yeah, the main thing for us right now is having a few tables and chairs out there would be really nice.
Okay.
If we need to revisit the music thing, that's fine. If, I'm not very prepared with it because it's,
Let's visit it now.
yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, but we don't have to
We'll
come
do it,
back.
yeah.
So whatever parameters you guys think are appropriate, we want to work with the community and you guys, and I've never done this before, so you guys are the experts, really.
We like to have the person ask us rather than we suggest.
Fair, okay. So I guess
So my suggestion to you is to suggest to us a time,
you got it.
10
Let's,
or 11, I don't care.
let's say 10,
Okay.
just, that's good. Even if we expanded our hours to 11, music done by 10 is great. We're not trying to be a wild, late-night, crazy establishment at any point, so.
Probably not.
No thanks.
Not with the art.
No. So I suppose if we would maybe integrate like a max of 2 musicians, a max of 1 amplified machine or amplifier, ending at 10, not beginning before 6 p.m. So within those hours. Any other details that would be helpful?
I wouldn't suggest that they want to limit the amps because you might have an amp for a vocal, you might have an amp for.
that's,
Okay.
that's
it's
all
not-
the noise ordinance. So,
So-
I don't think we've ever gotten to that with the CUP
No,
as far
and
as
that's why we don't, again, we
decibels.
don't want to make the suggestions.
The only
Okay.
suggestion I'd go for is, you have 6 feet of clear area between the edge of the curb and the tables.
Yeah.
I would say that I'd give you the flexibility to go down to 5 feet.
Okay.
But no less than that. Sort of as a rule of thumb, 5 feet is what 2 people need to walk past each other without turning their arms.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a nice dimension, and it gives you a little bit of flexibility if somebody wants to put a table on the end or
Yeah.
a chair on the end or something. So you're not feeling like you're pinched so much, and
Yeah.
it still gives pedestrians a ample room to move past.
That sounds great.
So you're gonna ask us to modify your request to 5 feet, is what you're
To
doing,
5
right?
feet, okay. So where it says 6 feet on my little diagram, it should say 5 feet.
Right.
Should I resubmit that with the change?
no.
No, that's okay. We'll just note
Okay.
it in the minutes.
We'll note it, we'll note it.
Yeah, it is 10 feet from building to the end, so
yeah.
the, I didn't put that measurement, but those tables are 4 feet out.
Okay.
So, yeah, so with another purple circle on there, that would give us that foot, and the 5 feet would be perfect.
All right, is
Yeah.
there any, so are you finished with more or less what you want to say to us, do you think, at this
I
point?
think so.
Is there any public input? Didn't think so. So, move on. Okay, there were good. Plan
Okay.
Commission comments, anybody have anything to say at this point, before we close? Okay, we'll close the hearing. Now, let's discuss the possible recommendation. Anybody have an idea, a motion, or et cetera? I don't see anybody objection to this. Okay, let's get a motion.
I make a motion to approve, I'm gonna,
The revised conditional use from you.
thank you, the revised conditional use for this property, contingent upon the suggestions for a 5-foot walk area and amplified music no later than 10, noted details in the minutes, and that you will follow the Village of Oregon sound ordinance. Ish.
We have a motion.
Sounds
Do we-
good.
do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, 7B for discussion only, review of Dane County Regional Housing Strategic Action Plan for 24 to 28.
All right, so I think we included the executive summary of this in the June packet, and you all asked that we bring this back to a quieter meeting, so I think this is probably the quietest meeting we're ever gonna have, so we should be grateful. Bring this back, so I will freely admit, I have not read this whole thing cover to cover. I'm not an expert. If there are questions beyond my basic understanding of this, I'm happy to pass them forward to Olivia Perry at the county and get back to you with some answers. But I did want to pull out a couple of data points that relate to Oregon that were in the report, just to make sure that if you want to discuss them or just make sure you were aware. So included the page numbers here too, so if you wanted to reference the charts and things there. But so they had a lot of these is just listing out, most of the Dane County communities, but Oregon's typical housing costs are around 27% of kind of average households monthly expenses, an average household being a family that makes 100% of the area median income, which is around 80 to 85,000 a year for a family of 4. So over 30% for housing costs is considered cost burden. So under 30% is good, but again, that's taking account a family that's making around 80 85,000 a year. Transportation costs accounted for about 22% of that same theoretical household's monthly expenses. So in total, housing and transportation costs are just shy of half of the family's monthly expenses. As of 2022, when they were doing this report and collecting data, Oregon had built 153 new affordable housing units that are restricted for price point since 2010. So that's the Prairie Brook development. That's exactly 153 units. So that was open at the time of this data. Obviously, we're adding some more later this year with CC Lane and more coming on North Main Street next year with North Point's project. But we were ranked 5th in the county, which I thought was pretty neat, only behind Madison, Middleton, Fitchburg, and Sun Prairie as far as number of new units built between 2010 and 2022 for the low-income housing. Not every Dane County community was listed in this senior housing inventory. There was only 18 of the total 25 or so communities in Dane County there, but we had 150 units that were counted as senior specific, so 10th of 18 in that list. Our median home sale price was pretty much right in the middle. They looked at numbers between November of 21 and November of 22. We ranked 12 of 25 communities in Dane County. I think that number was somewhere in the 450 to 470,000 range for the median home sale price. And Middleton is up way at the top compared to every other community, way above Madison. So interesting to see those all lined up. And then again, to meet expected population growth by 2040, an average of 159 housing units per year should be built in Oregon per the recommendations. And that is apartments, townhomes, duplexes, single-family homes, kind of all of the above. So just housing units in general. So happy to discuss any points that you have. If there's any questions, again, I can pass them forward to Olivia and get back to you. If you'd like a more detailed presentation, I'm sure she'd be happy to do that too. But just bringing this back, so that's the remainder of the packet is really this strategic action plan in its entirety.
Anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
I'll make a
Pat's
few.
he's got to say something.
Because I did spend a little bit of time with it, not as much as I would have liked to it. Something like this, it's impressive, but it's very overwhelming. And my fear with a report like this is a lot of good work's been done and it gets put on the shelf and ignored. So I like what you did in your memo, which is to pick out some important data points, simple important data points that we can monitor in Oregon. How many units are we building? How many senior units? How many affordable housing units? So I think you did a nice job with that. There are some very interesting statistics, like the number of new households was 8,000 higher than new housing units built in the last decade, or 2010 to 2020, right? So definitely some concerns on the horizon. So I think it's an important report. The biggest thing with a report like this is what gets done, right? So a couple of the points that I did like in the report, incorporate green infrastructure into residential development to reduce runoff. So as a community, I would like to see us be more conscientious about permeable surfaces, and I've argued for that in the past. And I know there's, from the engineering aspect, concerns about it, but I just think that we need to, especially since we live in the low point of Dane County, be proactive in that. I think it's impressive that, as you pointed out, Oregon ranks 5th in legally restrictive affordable housing, right? So kudos to us for what we've done there. Also, Oregon's in the middle to lower end of house prices. As you pointed out, Middleton, that whole west sector was, wow, when I looked at the chart. Glad I don't live in Middleton, or glad I'm not looking, although it's a beautiful area. I do have a question, and the question is, it said that rental units built from 2010 to 2021 in Oregon, 142. And that number seemed low. And maybe that's the case, or I'm sure it's the case, but it seems like all we've been doing is approving rental units in the past 2 to 3 years. So from your experience, how much has that changed? How many units have we?
So, do you have the page number on that, or
Yeah,
what were the years again?
So, well, the year was 2010 to 2021. In the packet, it's page 178. In the report, it's page 153.
So, my first answer is probably all those ones that we've approved, like you said, have come after that number.
That's what I thought.
I imagine that's going to be, there's obviously been projects too that have been approved, or like, for example, the Regency project on the Eppenfink, it's not annexed yet. They have the zoning approval, haven't come with a CSM or SIP yet for their site plan. So that could be 200 units. It's hard to know when that's going to drop, and obviously that's a phased project too. So I think a lot of these will probably, it sounds like a lot, but I think we'll slowly ramp up. But yeah, I think the Adam Coyle, the Rosewood Apartments would have been counted in that number because that opened in 2020. Jefferson Crossing would have been counted in that number. But otherwise, everything else that's been really built since then, so Prairie Brook, 880 North Main Street, CC Lane, those are gonna all be definitely counted in the next report whenever they do this, but, yeah, I mean, just with those, and, you know, these potential highway CC projects, we're probably gonna double that number at least, by maybe 2025 or
Sure.
26.
Good. So as far as feedback of what you could bring back to them, I have two comments. One, I felt the report was weak on a transportation analysis. And maybe that's, you know, it was a housing report, but to me, they go hand in hand. And it's a bit of my frustration with Dane County, that's probably one of the most planned counties in the United States, is I don't see the transportation planning. Why are we not doing things ahead of development? For example, getting 151 connected to I-94 and dealing with that corridor, because it's going to become a major issue, right? So I just would like to see a little bit more time spent on that report on transportation. The second thing that I think would be really nice, because it's such an overwhelming report, would be some type of Gantt chart where it shows the strategies and what's been done. So if you could check off or look at a one-page diagram to see the progress that's being made.
Okay. I'll pass those forward, thanks.
All right, anybody else? Okay, good, thank you. We move on, then I believe that this item here that's listed 8C is really 7C. Is that correct? We'll just leave them on the desk tonight. That's from Viridian Homes.
That's just for you. That's your stuff
Oh.
from Jeff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's just for me.
Yep.
Good.
We wouldn't sneak anything on the agenda last minute.
Oh, really? Jeff would. All right,
But
moving
Jeff's
on.
not
There's no other
invited.
public appearances. You folks are just enjoying the show. Is that what it is? So,
Yep.
okay. Move on then, Director of Community Development report. Status of projects, and Jeff's not here unless you want to fill in for that.
So 2024 master plan, actually did a walkthrough of Old Village Hall with, some of our consultants this morning, so a couple spider webs.
Yeah.
Nature's kind of taking over, but it was good for them to see the space, see kind of the bones of it, and get some ideas, getting a lot of good feedback. So we're wrapping up community engagement. There's a couple more stakeholder interviews. Actually, tonight Phil is at a stakeholder interview with the Fire District Commission, and Kristen Fish-Peterson, the main kind of our project manager for the plan. She's doing their stakeholder interview. So I've met with other developers, investors, and kind of movers and shakers in town. We did a downtown resident survey as well as a walking tour. I think Patrick was there a couple of weeks ago. So we met at the senior center, did a kind of a mobile listening session. So had probably a dozen or so people. We mailed out, I think 600 postcards with the link to the survey. We tried to get all downtown residents, so I got apartment numbers for everybody in Jefferson Crossing and some of the Walnut Street apartments and things like that too. So we got, I think, almost 150 responses on the survey, which is pretty good for that downtown resident survey. We've done business owners downtown, similar kind of feedback session and walking tours. So a lot of community events they've tabled at and stuff too. So I think a lot of good feedback. So I'll be meeting with them probably in the next few weeks to start to see kind of their draft recommendations and plans and summary of they're just kind of pulling all that engagement back together. And then I imagine we'll start to see some drafts. I'm not sure if it'll be as soon as October, it might be November. That timeline might get stretched a little bit just because some of the Fire District Commission, for example, kind of the last interview, and that was just based on their scheduling. So a couple of those things got stretched a bit, but I imagine that'll still be wrapped up hopefully by the end of the year. I know South Main Street's still under construction. Lauren Striegel are in our Public Works departments. South Main Street between
Yes.
State Street and Perry Parkway is kind of a moonscape still. So think that's getting work done, being wrapped up, but a lot of that Perry Parkway, South Burr Oak section has been completed, so it looks really good. We're working on bidding out well 3 renovations, and then we'll see well 6, which is the one in the Highlands of Netherwood, that well house we looked at quite a few months ago. I think that's going to be back for kind of a site plan review at our October meeting.
I was wondering about the one on Netherwood. It's, okay, that's.
Yeah,
that's
they've been
3.
waiting on the PSC to approve
Okay.
that because there's going to be a storage kind of garage, and so they wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that that was okay. It's not specifically just a water use, more of a public works use, but that was okay to be included in the project,
Alright.
which sounds like it is.
All right. And Viridian's screaming along.
Yeah, they're rolling
Okay.
along, so.
All right.
Greg, I'd like to just share a couple observations from that listening session.
Sure,
For
sure.
the committee. It was the residents listening session, and it was very good, and there are 2 things that stick out to me. First is there's a lot of sentiment for the old village hall. The residents were like, don't lose it, right? And I know it's got a lot of issues that have to be dealt with. But the interesting thing is, when we were doing the walk around, I was talking with Tim Higgins, and we were talking about some of the fire needs, fire station needs and everything, and potentially a ladder truck in the future, and it wouldn't work with the current station. And I said, what if we kind of reversed the thinking and put the fire station where they're talking about putting the senior center, and maybe took the old fire station and the village hall and did something for seniors and apartments for seniors. That's just throwing the idea out, but the reason I say it, my fear is that we're focused so much on the senior center. And I know there's a need there, and the people want it, but I just hope that this downtown master plan will look broadly at the needs of fire, senior center, and what's the best fit. If you remember when we were trying to shoehorn your term, the library and the North Main Street, and it wasn't the right fit.
Right.
And in the end, I think a better solution was made. So I just want to throw that out as both idea and caution, that we don't rush into something. And I know we've already, I think, gone out for RFPs for the
Design.
senior center design. So the other vibe I'm getting that I want to throw out is, Oregon has been very generous in supporting referendums. I've been here 25 years. I don't think a single referendum has failed. But I'm getting the feeling from community that we're starting to get to a tipping point. And, as somebody told me, can we just slow down? We've done some amazing things. The village hall moving here, the new library, the post office, and I know that's not our funding, but there's been some fantastic things done in this village, but it just seems like the pace of what's coming at us, and then the budget woes, I wish Phil were here to hear this. I'm concerned. I'm concerned as a taxpayer that we're trying to stretch people too much. So I just wanted to share that comment.
Okay, thank you. That's not a bad idea, it's, your comment there is, I don't know what you do, but yeah, you got a nice spot there with the firehouse, the fire station. I was curious, now I have an opportunity to ask, when you walk through the old village hall, it's obviously still got power in it, right? Or is it?
Minimal, yeah.
So
There's a couple
essentially, the services are more or less knocked down, are they
Right,
not? Or
yeah.
abandoned, not abandoned, but turned off.
Water's turned off.
Water's
yeah.
turned off, which it should be.
Gas, yeah.
Heat's off, which will be it.
Yeah, we can talk offline about some of the spaces and some of the planning for, obviously the senior center building is kind of at a point where we were similar to like Village Hall, where the building is obviously not meeting the needs of the community with growth and programming, but also it's an old grocery store that the floors are uneven and the sink is, and so a certain point is the building costs more to maintain than it's really worth, and to do major repairs to continue to have it be functional. Certain point you think, okay, this building isn't meeting the needs and the services we want to see in the community. More people are moving here. A lot of people are retiring here. They have an expectation of what should be offered. We've definitely, housing was looked at when we were doing the concept planning for the senior center. And at the end of the day, it felt like the senior center use was really going to be compromised by trying to shoehorn housing either on top or adjacent to. We looked at all kinds of different configurations, and I think where we landed is this particular side of the block doesn't need to be everything for everybody, and we would hate to do something kind of halfway just to kind of meet that need, but perhaps that's phase one of that block redevelopment, and then when other uses maybe change hands, or a developer comes in and finds the opportunity to acquire some property there that maybe senior housing adjacent to it or something, could be an option. Not that it's completely off the table, but to put so much into one project, a lot of competing needs for parking, a lot of competing needs for just the configuration of the building. We know we've seen some concepts of this works really well for an apartment layout, but for the way that the senior center needs to operate and have staff with eyes on folks and have the community gym space and things like that, a lot of kind of competing interests. The other reason, we're seeing a lot of these building projects kind of all crammed together is we had a lot of years where the boards didn't make the investments in properties, and so it's kind of all catching up with us, where we had buildings that didn't meet the needs of our growing community and were failing, and it's sort of all kind of happening in a condensed time period. I'm sure a lot of you have been following some of the work that the board has been doing on the referendum, where there'll be a community survey put out with priorities. Do you value public safety, or do you want more access to the library? It should be open more hours. What types of services do you expect? What are you willing to pay for? And then from that, there'll be some kind of recommendations about if we're going to do a referendum, when should that be? How much should we be asking for? So that's all to come later this year. We're working behind the scenes a lot on, what's the wish list? What's the nice to have? What's the need to have? What happens if we don't add, staff positions or operating support for some of these buildings? So that'll all, we'll hear from the community too. If there's not an interest in supporting certain services over others, then that'll be likely reflected in whatever is put on the ballot. I think right now they're aiming for April of 25, but kind of all subject to change depending on what's heard from the community. And I think I imagine it'll probably be a mailed either postcard or survey or something to make sure that as many people can participate as possible.
Patrick, the comment you said that people, and it's coming from the older people in the community. Well, I'm one of the oldest now. I didn't think I was, but I am. The old village hall meant something, and I think it does to the residents. I don't care what age group they are. But is there any thought before we go, and I know an RFP might be going on, but they can stop an RFP. Is there any thought process to considering exactly what Patrick's talking about? Because I don't know if there's enough space. Can you, I realize the village hall, the old one, is pretty well, but maybe you can just fill the bottom in with concrete.
Yeah, at this point, we've gotten 3 responses for the design team for the senior center. It's not specific to, there's a concept site and a concept plan, but nothing's been designed yet. Nothing's been knocked down yet. But that was certainly, again, and we got to make sure we're not talking about too many things that aren't on the agenda too. But
well, we're just kicking stuff around. So it's you said this is in reference to the walkabout that you folks had. So I don't think we're going too far with this. But my suggestion is again that based upon comments by the residents, maybe we should open up some more thoughts.
Yeah. Well, and I think
drop the suggestion.
Yeah, what they're going to be recommending too is going to be in line with what's heard from the community. So it's not going to be, well, we heard this, but we're actually going to recommend this other thing. That's the big goal of this downtown plan, is that we have hopefully some kind of consensus or direction that we've heard from the community, and then here are some strategies to align with that. Here's a action plan. This is what it would cost to do X, Y, Z. Here's some suggestions about placement. But yeah, the senior center, the school district, the fire district, those have all been in this stakeholder interview kind of time too. So there's been likely discussions about the role of those entities in and around downtown too.
All right, we'll move on then to upcoming, boy, this is amazing. Next meeting is in October. Jeez. October 3rd, then November 7th. Is that gonna affect, I know you don't like to have it right after the election, but is that you never thought about that, Joy, did you?
Oh, we think about this
Every time.
a year and a half in advance, so
But
it's
no
kind of a
problem.
double-edged sword, either do the packet right after the election or have the meeting right after the election, so it's kind of,
Yeah, I
horse
think
needs
I think we're good here. We could do the pack ahead of time, maybe. We'll see what's on it. We'll see what's on it. Okay, all right. And I'm gonna, yeah, I'm apologize. I was wrong. I looked at this thing. You know, I'm a typical engineer. I didn't look at everything. You know, just the stuff that.
just what's on top.
October 27th, 2022.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was wrong. My wife would love to hear that.
It's it's in the minutes, that you were wrong.
Oh, jeez.
It's also on video.
On video,
Watching
that's
right
right.
now.
Oh, my God.
She's
it's
probably
gonna-
watching right now.
No, she's never watched one.
All
So.
caps, Joy.
Oh, I forgot about that on TV. Thanks. Okay. Oh boy.
As for the reference on the post office, do we know a move-in date, or it's looking awfully close to done?
Yeah, it should be.
We've heard October, sometime in October, so
okay,
it was
great.
I was hearing originally more November, December, so I think they had some good construction weather this summer and were able to keep moving along, and
What was the deadline to get out of the other building? Do you-
so our lease with them ended technically June 30th, and
Okay.
then the rent went up significantly week by week, I believe, so they're, responsible for paying that, and that's kind of something
Okay.
that Jeff handles, but yeah, so that was their kind of date before the
Okay.
lease amount changed, so.
That's why we had a postage increase.
Yep.
I'm sure that's what it was. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We have planning staff meeting agenda is none there. So anything for future meetings? You've kind of let us know. Need a-
I did just want to let you know, because I know some folks have been getting questions, so we tabled
Yeah.
two of the items from the text amendments last time, the concealed fasteners, which Patrick, I was wondering if you have a minute to chat after
Yeah,
the
I'd like
meeting,
that.
and then chicken, beekeeping, and I have talked with Sonia from Vanderwall, kind of bring her up to speed since she wasn't here in August, and kind of some of the concern, topics and questions that were brought up, as well as others that have come up from different conversations, understanding the role of like the county health department. Does anything kind of supersede what we would do here in the village, or is that more of a zoning issue? If so, then we would kind of have more flexibility, making sure we're thinking about how educational institutions, how this might affect some of those, or how we can kind of maybe think about them in a different way. So we haven't set a date yet, so I didn't want to put it in the packet, but I think sometime later in October, probably mid to late October, we'll have a community conversation, probably in the community room, with some kind of stations for people to move through and give feedback on, or work in small groups. So I'll have an update and some kind of like poster for that in the October Planning Commission meeting, and then everybody who spoke at the meeting, we got their address at least, so it can send them a notice that that'll be happening, and we'll get it out on social media so people will hopefully see that. So my thought is kind of mid to late October, we have that community conversation, and then maybe by our December meeting, we come back with just at least a summary. If it's at the point where we have some recommendations and everybody's on board with that, we can move towards putting it back into ordinance form, if that's the direction we're still heading, or if we need to have some more workshops with the community, we'll kind of take it slowly. It's something that's worth getting right the first time, so no rush there, but we'll keep it moving later this fall.
Great. All right. Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. You can strike that one comment from the minutes.